YouTube, what's going on? Facebook, what's going on? Queen, how's it going?
Pretty good. How's it going with you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. I didn't know if I was gonna make the show, but we making it happen. And that
Absolutely.
we got Queen's Court coming up right after 8:30.
Yep.
So yeah, Yo Black is time. We get right into it. Tough loss last night,
Yeah.
yesterday. I didn't really get to watch the full game. I caught pretty much the last three to 5 minutes where we were in the game right up into the end,
hmm
just like a lot of games as of late. We've been in the game right up into the end,
Yeah.
but we're not figuring out how to close these games, how to get these wins. But to be honest, um, the way we've been playing as of late, even with the losses, at least for me personally, has been encouraging. Encouraging about the future. You know, I think luckily, I guess I dealt with most of the disappointment and most
hmm
of the we'll say nicks and bruises in the middle of the season. That 20 game stretch particularly, and then by the time we got into where we got a couple wins, the 3 game win streak,
hmm
I was kind of over the season by then. Hopes weren't high. I knew there was a slight possibility, still a slight possibility, we could get into the play-in, but I'm really focused on next season, the future.
hmm
How far away are we from not necessarily contending, but taking another step forward?
How far
But
are we from just making the playoffs year after year?
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
You know?
playoff contention, absolutely. I
hmm
mean, I thought we were there, based off of last year, and even though I was one of the people who said, "Hey, we overachieved," you know what I mean? We we took 2 steps forward or 3 steps forward instead of one. We started
hmm
running, before before we was crawling. Um, but that being said, I still like where we are. Shout out to the chat, Jay Bug, Keith, Andrew, Geraldine, Tricky Nikki. Appreciate you guys, spending this time with us.
Definitely.
But yeah, I'm positive about the future. So I think tonight I'm really gonna focus on that. Focus on what I think we may need moving forward. I think
hmm
the consensus is obviously a point guard, a healthy point guard. you know, we'll
hmm
talk a little bit about Mitch in that situation. How much of a contributor do we think he is,
hmm
and do we need him, or do we need to move forward from him? I think obviously my stance has been the same throughout the year. It hasn't changed today, but
hmm
I'm objective to the fact that we might lose him. He may not come back,
hmm
and where does that put us? So without any further ado, we're not gonna do any nicks and bruises right now.
hmm
We're just gonna get into this talk about where we are, and where do you think we are moving forward into the future? Because I don't think we're far off. I expect that if this team, and we'll start right there. If we bring back this same team, I'm gonna say minus a Kemba Walker.
hmm
Obviously, we want a replacement. We want a starting caliber point guard, who's not on this team right now, to be on this team. But let's say we don't get that right, and this team is brought back exactly the way we are now. Obviously, minus Kemba, we figure out whether that's buying them out, waving them, excuse me, or figuring out a suitor and trading him. Where do you expect this team to be able to take a step forward if we strike out on an addition to the team?
It's possible. I mean, I think one of the things that I've learned from last year to this year, and even looking at some of the teams that are going to make the playoffs, that chemistry is important. Talent is important, but chemistry is proven to be very important as well. And you can argue that, next year the chemistry will be better. Um, a lot happened this year to disrupt the chemistry, right? Noel, players being in and out, and I mean, you can argue that other teams have dealt with it as well. It just seems like with the Knicks, it was just always something. Roles also being out. So if you're talking about bringing this team back intact, you're talking about a healthy Noel. You're talking about a healthy Derrick Rose. You're talking about Cam, who would have gone through a training camp. You're talking about RJ, who's hitting his stride, and you would think would get even better. Randall, who seems to be rounding into shape, albeit late. Um, and IQ, who's shown some signs of life, this past week. So it's possible that if you bring the same team back with no changes and they're healthy,
Hmm.
that they could make the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, I don't
And
think that's a stretch that they can make the playoffs. But I think we would. I think we need more than that if we're
mhm.
talking about really being a threat in the playoffs. But yeah, it's possible if everything breaks right. Yeah, we can make the playoffs.
Now I agree 100%, and we're gonna get into the more in a second.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna kind of break it down into you know let, let's just say however you want to word it. I'm gonna use a negative in it and say, let's say we strike out in free agency, which I don't know how much money we have to even pursue someone. Also, like David L pointed out, there's not many point guards on the market
Right.
this coming off season. So that there's that, and then I mean, again, so we strike out in free agency. We aren't able to
Mm-hmm.
maneuver a trade, and then so that's first case scenario. We bring back the same team minus Walker, and
Mm-hmm.
where we think we could go. You didn't mention Grimes, who I think he's became an integral part of the team
Mm-hmm.
once his opportunity arrives. So
Mm-hmm.
there's that as well. Um, we'll start with Mitch if you able to lock him up. I think
Mm-hmm.
he's going to be a huge piece. I actually let's go here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say we lose Mitch. How big of a blow do you think that is? Because me personally, obviously, that's my guy. I pay the man. Um, I think that hurts us tremendously. I don't know if Sims is ready full time to even. I don't expect him to come in and start and be the replacement of Mitchell Robinson at this point. So I would say full time backup. We would be relying. When I say relying, I mean relying on Nerlens Noel being healthy at the start of the season, but being able to maintain that health throughout the season. So, what are your thoughts on if we lose out on Mitchell Robinson? How much do you think that affects us moving forward? And granted, this is under the same scenario of us striking out or not being able to uh, bring in some type of a upgrade at the point guard position
I think if we're bringing this team back intact
and
with
healthy.
healthy, but without Mitchell Robinson, I think that hurts. I mean, if we're talking about Mitch is not here, but there's somebody else here, that's a different conversation. But you're talking about this entire team coming back without Mitch, unless Noel is going to play like he played when Mitch was healthy the last time, then we'll be okay. But if Noel is not playing like that, I think it's going to hurt us. Yeah, it's going to hurt us for sure. But remember, it's easy to forget Noel, as injury prone as he was this year, he filled in admirably for Mitch for that long stretch that he was
Hmm.
injured. If he can get back to that form, we might be okay. But even then, he missed games
Hmm.
from with injuries, right? And I just don't think Sims is ready. I mean, I like Sims' activity, I like his rebounding, but he looks really undersized out there. I mean, he's 6'10", but for whatever reason, he just looks a little undersized. But he's a strong
Strong
rebounder.
guy.
He's not a he's not a rim protector, right? So blocking shots is not his thing. But he does well on switches and what have you. Um, we might be able to squeak by with him and Noel, but both of them would have to play lights out.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. He does look small out there at times. I think one thing that works in his favor in a couple of ways is his strength. One, he's not even Mitch was getting pushed around at times,
Hmm.
especially first 3 years. You don't really see that with Sims. A lot of and I think his strength actually comes as a surprise to most guys competing against him.
Hmm.
So he does have that in his favor. Definitely is not a rim protector as you mentioned. I think what he's gonna have to learn how to do is number one, same thing Mitch needed to learn was avoid foul trouble
Right.
because and then use your presence. Again, we do agree that he's a bit undersized, but I think positioning and presence can affect the shot just as good as someone who's a potentially rim protector. Now,
Right.
obviously, it's not gonna
Mhm.
it's just really deterring the shot. Um, just making it difficult.
Right.
That alone can change can change the outcome of a shot put up. So I think he has the capability. It's really going to be learning the positioning and learning that just how to avoid fouls. Make yourself available because you're not in foul trouble. And
So
I
are you
think
saying you think we would be just as good with Sims if Mitch is not here?
I'm saying this is what Sims is going to need to do
Okay.
in order to even be effective and get the opportunity to play
Hmm.
in the absence of Mitchell Robinson.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously, you pointed out um, no, Norlands is going to have to be healthy for the majority of the season, which
Hmm.
you open
That's
so
asking a lot.
you open my eyes. Where you had all these talks about Kemba, and I heard you, but I wasn't listening. Now I'm worried about Rose. I'm worried about Mitch. I'm worried about Nerlin. Like because availability is the best ability,
Everything.
as they say, and if you're not able to be on the court, then you're not able to help the team. So but I think those are the things that he Sims is going to have to work on
Right.
to be able to play 25 minutes a game and be a full time backup and not be
Hmm.
what I'll call not tip's term but a situational backup. Um, Guys use because other guys are in foul trouble or the other
Hmm.
guys are injured or out. But yeah, I think it's going to be extremely hard to reach our full potential without a Mitchell Robinson. We're talking about chemistry and things of that nature. Now we're missing, now it's more of an adjustment, whether it's bringing someone else in his place or even just not having him around and trying to figure out where, how good we could be or where we're going to end up.
Hmm.
So I do believe Mitchell Robinson is an integral part to our bright future. And again, pay that man. I hope he gets locked up 4 years. Um, I do have injury concerns. I do have concerns with his offensive ability, but I think if he can just continue to excel at what he does great or what he does well and become great at, I think
Hmm.
that alone will keep us in that playoff contention moving forward. And then one thing that I've pointed out recently, I think a lot of our guys, multiple guys, are playing the best basketball. I won't say of their career per se, but at least of the season at this current moment. Mitchell Robinson, I think, is playing the best basketball, I'll
Hmm.
say, of his career at this
Hmm.
moment.
Hmm.
RJ of his career at this moment.
Hmm.
Randall of the season at this moment. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So
Hmm.
it gives me hope moving forward. Um, Another scenario. Did you want to elaborate on any of that before?
Yeah, it's just a matter of them next season building on that, and that's not always the case, right? We saw that Randall wasn't able to build on the season he had last season. Quickly, I mean, we'll talk about quick on the Queen's Court, but yeah, we'll talk about quick later. But I'm liking what I'm seeing from him. Even though he didn't shoot well this season, I was never
Mhm.
really that down um on him actually.
I
I,
was. I was.
yeah.
I mean, it's documented, so I can't sit here and lie
Hmm.
and say say I wasn't. A huge part of a lot of the comments that I made was the emergence of Grimes, though. So it wasn't just
Right.
quickly that
Right.
made me down on quickly, because even with me being down on him, I acknowledged all three to four different areas where he improved.
Right.
So my only problem with him was his shooting slump, which seemed to last, about half the season.
If not more. I
if
think it was
if
more than that.
if not more,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll leave the quickly discussion for Queen's Court. But yeah, I can't lie and say I wasn't down on him for
Hmm.
a portion of the season. And I know shooters
Yeah.
shoot, and they're gonna break out this slump at some point.
Hmm.
But again, we'll get into quickly Queen's Court. Stay tuned to Queen's Court so you can get that quickly talk. Um, but yeah, Grimes was the main reason, because I felt like he he showed a lot defensively off jump. So it
Hmm.
wasn't like, oh wow, look how much better he got. It's, oh wow, look how good he is rookie season off jump. You know what I mean? Again, just like Frank, I think throughout his career with the Knicks, he was
Hmm.
able to get minutes based off of one thing he did well.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Grimes can do more than just defend and defend multiple positions. I think he's also a good shooter as of right now. I think he has the potential to be one of the elite shooters. Um, if you study him and his form, it doesn't change.
Hmm.
It looks identical no matter where he is on the court, no matter
Hmm.
how many times he takes the shot. So things like that is what made me say I like this guy, and he might make someone else expendable. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I used to think that too because I saw Grimes as like a six man, um, and then quickly as a six man, and that's going to come in and going to shoot. And Grimes can do what quickly can do, and he can do it as far as shooting is concerned, and he's more consistent. But I think quickly is separating himself out, in my opinion, to be more than just a shooter. I think his ability to defend that point guard position, his ability to run the offense. And you may not always like his decisions, but he's growing into that position. And I know people say he's not a point guard because we always think traditional point guard that's coming down and setting everybody up. If you look around the NBA, it's not a lot of those guys anyway. Um, but the way we play, which is almost positionless, it's just you being able to come down, initiate the offense, and kind of get into motion, get into our sets. I think Quickly can do that more so than Grimes because Quickly is not I mean, Grimes is definitely not a point guard. So I do see them kind of separating themselves now into different roles. Um, I would not be against if there was no changes next season. I wouldn't be against Quickly starting at that um point guard position. Again, don't think traditional point guard setting
mhm.
people up, getting don't think that. Um yeah.
and,
So now I don't see them so much in the same role. Was the point
and
I was trying to make.
and it's funny how you can segue sometimes into things
We
that
did, Tony. We
without
did.
even communicating it, because as time went forward, and
Hmm.
again, I don't want to focus on quickly because we're gonna save some of that, but I think you just pointed it out, hit the nail on the head. What separates them is his ability to now play that one position.
Right.
You know what I mean? Um, I felt like I felt like Grimes. I think Grimes is a two. I think he
Yes.
should play the two at
Mm-hmm.
all times. I don't like him at the three. I think it puts him at a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
He has the ability to switch onto a three, but to start there, I would not like that. I think that is taking away from some of the advantages he has at the two, where quickly is showing
Mm-hmm.
more and more where he can play two positions full time. I mean, you got to
Mm-hmm.
pick one of them, obviously, but he has the capability to play that one spot and be that one spot
Mm-hmm.
full time, and then he has the ability to also play the two. So for Grimes to be back into that category for me, I think he's gonna have to expand his game and expand his ball handling, because that's one of the things that I was saying earlier in the season
Mm-hmm.
when we got to look at Grimes. If this guy had the ability to play the point, he'd be really dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and again, when I say point, it's similar to that non-traditional point. If
Right.
his ball handling can improve enough to where he's able and capable to just bring the ball up, you know what I mean? I think we have enough guys on the team that are playmakers that
Mm-hmm.
they can take that playmaking aspect of the point guard out of his hands, and now we could use him to guard, to switch off of ones, twos, and threes if
Mm-hmm.
need be, and expand things. So yeah, it's funny how you mentioned that
Mm-hmm.
about quickly, because I agree. I think his the way he's progressed into that role of point guard, I think that's making him more valuable. Um,
Yeah, and at least he would when he's not shooting, because he can do that. In my opinion, he has more value, because if you're just a shooter and your shooting is off the way it's been off all season, why are you on the floor?
yeah,
But because of his defense, his on-off numbers were good at one time. I don't know if it still is. And by that, meaning that the team played better with quickly on the floor than they did with him off the floor, regardless of whether he was shooting well um, or not. And quickly, he's not Kimball Walker. I'm not saying he's Kimball Walker. But when he's on, like those two games when he was on, how do you defend him? Because he can hit the three. Now he can get in the lane with the floater. You understand? So it makes him very difficult to guard when he's really aggressive and getting into the lane. That puts a lot of pressure on the defense. In that game, I'm not sure if it was the Clippers, whatever game it was, when he scored 20 some odd points. That's what he was doing. He was getting in the lane. He was hitting that floater and making it very difficult for the defense. When he's just standing outside and just dribbling it up and passing it to people, not looking for his shot, not looking to drive, our offense is less dynamic.
yeah, I agree. Apparently, excuse me, real
Hmm.
quick as I clear my throat. Pardon me. A
Hmm.
couple of guys in the chat do not agree with us. Um,
I see that. I see that.
let's see. Sanga says that I don't agree, but I'm always wrong. But I think his point was quickly is a two guard, and that's it. Same with Tricky Nicky. Shout out to Tricky Nicky.
Hmm.
IQ is a shooting guard. Period. I mean, I would have agreed with you earlier in the year, but even in his shooting slump, you could see where his game, he got better at rebounding, he got better at facilitating,
Right.
he got better at defense. Now those three things alone allowed him to still be able to play that position. We're not saying that he is a point guard or he should be the point guard. I think what we're saying is that he's capable.
Right.
And if you disagree with that, it's fair. You can, but I just don't want you to disagree if you're misunderstanding the point that we were actually making. Uh,
And then
I
also, go ahead, Tom.
no, I just want to read what David said. IQ could be a point guard if he had a shot or some experience, but he's not shooting good. Don't want to waste time thinking if we get it at our team's expense. I mean, at this point, it kind of was our expense, if you will. It was so we're kind of projecting into
Right.
the future more so than because I think we all had problems with him at
Can
the
you put
point
that
guard.
back up?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I
Because
think I think we all had problems with him at the point guard at some point. I think
right.
we're kind of just giving him his kudos on what he was able to accomplish and improve on. But go ahead, Quinn.
That he will get it at our team's expense. Quickly as part of the team. So, I mean, we say that a lot, vets versus young people. He's going to get this experience at the team's expense. He's part of the team. And Quickly is just a second year player. So a good part of the fan base want the Knicks to go young. Well, this is what happens when you go young. There's gonna be ups and downs. So we're talking about we're okay going young and next year and going with the young guys, but we don't have any patience for Quickly, who's just in his second year. This is what you're going to get with young guys. One game they shoot well, the next game they don't. For all of the season, they don't shoot well. They're up and down. That's part of being a young guy. So, what you're seeing from Quickly, expect that from Grimes if he gets extended time. Expect that from Cam if he gets extended time. This is what happens with young guys. Quickly was pressed into duty. He had to change his role because of injuries to Kemba, injuries to Derrick Rose. And we talked about this before the season started. Those two guys have injury histories. If those two guys go down, who is the third point guard? We were talking about Quickly. We were talking about McBride and possibly Burke. Those two guys went down. So now Quickly is pressed into this position. This is his second year. It would be good for him to stay in the same role he was in last year, but he was pressed into this role. And when he puts it all together, having this experience,
Mm-hmm.
and he puts it
That's
all together, he has the potential to be a very dynamic um player. You got to really think of him as a rookie because he's in a new role this year. So the only point I'm trying to make is that it's not at the team's expense. He is part of our team, and this is what you can expect from all of our young guys. So for those who want us to go young,
this is
this
part
is
of it.
what's going to happen.
This is part of it.
So don't like we turning on Quickly next year. Who we going to turn on? Cam. We're going to turn on Grimes. We're going to turn on whoever goes through struggles. It's going to happen. They're young players.
And just also remember being capable to play two positions or three positions or however many positions the more positions you can play, the more value it adds to you personally. You know what I mean? So I mean, and we talk about expense to the team or at the team's expense. I mean, Quickly was doing this and doing it with the second unit for the majority of the season. Burks was the guy that was really playing point guard out of position. And again, this is not me knocking it. A lot of fans do. But if you're mad at Burks running the point guard, I would think you would be more open to Quickly running that point guard because I think we started this by saying, or you started this by saying, if all else fails, you're not mad at Quickly becoming the starting point guard next year if we missed out on a free agent or didn't have the money for a free agent or couldn't pull off a trade. So it's not saying, hey, moving forward, Quickly should be our starting point guard. We're kind of giving hypotheticals of how next year
Could
might
go.
go and how we would feel about it. Um so that being said, if Quickly is the starting point guard, that means we didn't draft one or we drafted one, but guess what? He's not ready to be a starter, which I
Right.
think most guys don't even consider. Which I think if you don't want to get your heart broken, you should consider now that even if we draft a point guard, he might not be the starting point guard of our team
Well, I
coming
haven't
into
gotten
the
into the
season.
draft yet, Tony. I know you did a draft show. I haven't gotten into the draft yet. is there a point guard in the draft that can come in and start, for the Knicks? Is it that type of talent in the draft? I haven't gotten into my draft
I,
work yet.
I don't know. I mean, there's always gonna be names out there, right? The big name right now is Ivory, I believe his name is, who is getting the comparisons of Ja Morant.
Okay.
But I think that when I say comparisons, I mean that in the cup of the player, not saying like he's gonna come in and be able to start. He's gonna
Right.
come in and have the type of rookie year or year this year, whatever that Ja is having now.
Mhm.
It's just pointing out
Mhm.
similarities in their games, if you
Right.
will.
Right.
You know what I mean? But there's things that he lacks that Ja did not lack coming, in college. So I think that's like wishful thinking.
Mhm.
And even if it was him, I don't believe. All right, can he start? Absolutely. I think anybody can. I don't know if that's the best thing for him, and I
Mhm.
don't know if he's gonna reach his fullest potential by coming
Mhm.
in, starting on this team, and that's not gonna project us to over the top or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like a Ja would.
Mhm.
It, it's I don't know if a lot of people think like that though. I think
Right.
people think, draft a point guard, that's the future. Future is not now. Future is not current. Future, you got to build to the future. So getting a rookie point guard in, I don't believe that's the route for success, or at least immediate success. You
Yeah,
got to look.
listen,
one,
rookies.
one one last thing. Just
Mhm.
look at the dynamic of that position and the command you have on the players around you. So now we're talking about a rookie point guard who has the command to decide when RJ gets the ball, to decide when Randall gets the ball.
Mhm.
We need that on this team, absolutely. I don't know if a rookie has that in him. You know what I mean? There's not many point guards throughout the league, like current, that have that in them. It's gonna be a distinct point guard that we need, that RJ can look to and be confident and say, "Yes, I'm gonna let you decide if it's my time now or my turn now." And the
Mhm.
same with Randall. So that's just the way I look at it. And again, if you disagree, it's cool. Tell me why.
Yeah.
Put it in the comments. Um, Go ahead, Quinn. I'm sorry I cut you off.
Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. But you know, um, just we need to be patient with these young players. A rookie that comes into the league, he's gonna be inconsistent. Look at Cade Cunningham was the number one pick in this draft. He's been up and down. He's just now hitting his stride, it seems like, these past few weeks, right? That's to be expected for a rookie. So any rookie that comes in, they're gonna take their lumps. That's just how it is. And quickly is just a second year player. There's this thing called the sophomore slump. you know,
Mm-hmm.
Morant last year was you can argue was in one of those sophomore slumps. He did not play well. He did not shoot well last year. And look at him now, the third year he put it all together and he's an all-star. Same thing happened with Tyler Hero. His second year was a mess. This year, put it all together. He's playing much better. I think the same thing is going to happen with IQ.
I hope so. I really do. But and Kate is a great
He
point.
was hurt, Tricky Nicky, but even before that, he was up and down.
But he's a great point because you talking about top guy in the draft. You know what I mean? You talking about a guy in the draft that people said, "Hey, this is a franchise guy." He's on a losing team, right?
Mhm.
Granted, we're a losing team, but he didn't take that team and turn them into a playoff team, a perennial playoff team, a bubble playoff team. You know what I mean? He has
He didn't make
the
much difference on the team.
no. and they have
Detroit is still bottom. You know?
absolutely, and but they have the luxury of waiting for him to be who he's going to become and enjoying his growth. Like I don't know if we have that per se with the rookie point guard. Now
Mhm,
we do, but not as a starter. Someone just brought up Deuce, and we have Deuce, and I like Deuce. Again, it's more likely that he could come in and show out and earn a starting spot or a bench role, a definitive role on
mhm,
his team after being on the team for after over a year, after earning his lumps, after
mhm,
Tibbs getting to see who he is, see where he likes him, what
mhm,
he's good at.
mhm.
But even as a starter, I don't think he commands the respect, and I mean that in a respectful way, but of his teammates. You know what I mean? And I hate to keep talking about Quickly. I think at this point, Quickly has off jump. They respect his shot, right? They don't care. Like they're not mad at him like I was taking some of these shots because
Right,
they
right,
know what he's capable of. They've seen it day in and day
right,
out, practice it and in games and etc. So I think his teammates, they know what he's capable of, and they'll be willing to respect his ability. We've seen Randall look for Quickly when Quickly's hot. We've seen
right.
RJ look for Quickly when Quickly's hot. For Deuce, I just think they're gonna have to see it first. And I could be wrong. Maybe they've seen it already in practice, but I think they have to see it in the game. They're gonna have to see it in a late game. They're gonna have to see it even in a blowout, whether it's us down 30 or us up 30, but Deuce getting minutes, getting the end of quarter and just show some things that they weren't able to see because he never got the extended minutes to do it. But I think Deuce will be in a better spot than any. I don't care which rookie point guard you point out. I think Deuce will be in a better spot coming into next year than a rookie point guard. And part of that
Yeah.
I will say has to do with Tibbs, but we know who he is, and you got to expect what you know from people, right?
But this is what I will say though. Tibbs played Obi, the eighth pick in the draft. If we get a number 5 pick in the draft, he's going to be in the rotation. He's not going to sit the bench. Obi should not have been in the rotation. You can argue his rookie year, and he was. So if we get the number fifth pick in the draft, the number fifth pick is going to play. The other thing we got to keep in mind is training camp is going to be a dogfight because Deuce is not in the rotation, but he's in the rotation because of injuries. Grimes got into the rotation because of injuries. Cam was traded for somebody who is out of the rotation. When we go into training camp, there's only 10 rotation spots. Everybody has played this year. Who's getting those 10 spots next year? That is going to be tough. If Derrick Rose is back, if Noel is back, it's going to be rough figuring out who gets those 10 rotation spots next year.
And yeah, and speaking of rough, I mean,
If there's no changes, if there's no changes. If it
Cam
is, it makes it even worse.
can't. Yeah, I mean, we Tibbs in the front office have decisions they have to make
Yep.
internally before they even, look at what's out there or who's out there. They gotta understand who they have.
Right.
Which moves me on to Cam and Grimes.
Mm.
Because I think that's another tough decision they're gonna have to figure out. And this is not me putting them against each other. I'm kind of just want to talk about them both at the same time. Because both of them showed defensive potential. Grimes, I think, more on ball, 1-on-1. I think Cam more off ball, passing lanes, um recovery, just learning how to use that length. I mean, granted,
Mhm.
look at the fact of how he got injured on a defensive play. where he was out of the play
Mhm.
and ran, you know what I mean, fought his way back into the play, trying to get a defensive stop. I mean, that alone says a lot about this man. And I'm not putting that on Tibbs. I'm not saying Tibbs like he's trying to be a Tibbs guy, because I didn't watch enough of him in Atlanta to know if that was in him to
Mhm.
kind of fight.
Mhm.
But we've seen it a couple of times
Mhm.
this year on the Knicks where he have a bad turnover, come back and fight hard and get a steal,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
have a missed possession and come back and try to get a chase down block, either get it or get a foul or whatever the case. But I think that's him learning from sitting on that bench when he first got here, him
Mhm.
learning from Tibbs maybe telling him, hey, defense will get you, or you're gonna get your time on the court. Defense will get you, keep you on the court. And
Mhm.
then even watching the short time that he's seen from Grimes, and Grimes getting his minutes and kind of earning them, and then
Mhm.
putting Tibbs in a position where now you got a tough decision. So yeah, I like those two guys. I
Mhm.
think they can be huge for us moving forward. But like you said, 10 guys seems to be who, the rotation,
Somebody's gonna be situational that we don't like.
or somebody's gonna have to be gone. What do you think is more likely moving forward? Because even if we remove Kemba, but the rest of the team is healthy, I think it's going to be a more than capable player that is going to have to sit.
Well, I see Grimes and Cam playing different positions, so I don't really see them competing. I see Grimes as a shooting guard. I see Cam as a three, maybe a small um stretch four, maybe in a pinch. He's so thin though, but maybe in a pinch.
So,
Mhm.
but my question should be this then: whose minutes or rotation spot do you think is most likely to be affected, or be affected the most by a Grimes and then by a Cam?
I mean, I guess they could both be in the rotation because if I'm like roll,
Without someone coming out?
let's see, Burks would probably be out. Um, well, if you put quickly in at the point, so you move him to the first team. And the second team, then you can have and Burke is out of the rotation, then yeah, you can have Rose, Grimes, Cam, Obi, and Sims.
Do you think so? You think Burks is the most likely
I
out?
don't think I mean with
That
Tibbs,
because that's what I'm at.
with
Like, who do
Tibbs,
you think is the most
but
likely?
but but this is what I will say. This is what I will say about Tibbs. He's going with the guy he believes. We may not agree with him. He's going with the guy he believes gives him the best chance of winning. If Cam or Grimes comes out and outplays Burke, they're gonna get it. They're gonna get it.
See, I'm under the belief that Obi is gonna have to show.
Mm.
He's gonna have to show the most to stay on that floor. To I
We
think
don't have a backup four. I don't see you see Tibbs playing Cam at four.
I do.
Really?
I do. Especially backup, especially when, I mean, at this particular moment in time. See, and when I say at the fort, yes, but not exclusively. I
Right.
think he has the ability, obviously, to play the four, so I think he'll get some minutes there, even if it's just to spell Randall.
Obi is
Um,
only getting about
and but
if Cam gonna cut into those minutes, then
that
wow.
that's why I think it. If I'm looking at the minutes that Obi gets, right?
Hmm.
I'm thinking Obi slides out of the rotation more
Wow.
likely than a
Then Burks.
Burks, more
Wow.
likely than a Fournier, more likely than it just makes, unless one of these guys are moved somehow. I don't see. I think Cam has showed enough versatility to play that position. I think even in a
Yeah.
small ball lineup, I think RJ has the capability of doing it with Randall at the five. We've seen a little bit of that.
Hmm.
Um, you know, granted, it's by necessity, not because there's something Tibbs saw and he liked. So I see both of those guys as options at playing some minutes at the four. If we're going small ball, now you're saying one of them is definitely at the four with Randall at
Right.
the five, which again will open up
I
more.
don't think we're gonna go small ball because Tibbs like his rim protection. I was saying, if you have Sims on that second team, I was asking you, were you saying that you think that um Burks would be in? So are you saying
Mm,
it would be Rose, Grimes, Burks, Cam, and Sims instead of Obi and Sims?
I can see
Wow.
that too. I can see
Okay.
that too. I can
Okay.
see that too. And it's more. It's based off of the versatility. It's based off of the
Mhm.
the capability. Um, it's
Obi
not
got to
like
come back lights out.
it's not.
Obi,
Think
he
about
got to
it
put
though.
some work in.
The big disadvantage for Cam playing the four would be
Mhm.
what?
He's so slim.
He's so slim.
Yeah.
He's playing against smaller, bigger guys, right?
Hmm.
Does Obi fill in the role defensively? Is he helping? Is he so good defensively that you're saying, I can't put Cam there because he's not going to be able to give me what Obi's giving me defensively? I think at this point it's not right. It's not
I
going to
don't think
be.
his defense is. Do you think his defense is that bad,
I'm,
Obi?
I'm not saying I don't want to say bad. I'm
Hmm.
saying I don't think Cam's defense at that position is
Would
going
be
to be
worse,
worse.
right?
So, and I think because of his activity defensively, I
Hmm.
think he may be able to even be better, even if he's guarding guys that are bigger than him. I think he may be able to use some of that off ball deflections or just make it difficult for the big guy to
Hmm.
get the ball. Now, once he got the ball, it's going to be a disadvantage
Hmm.
regardless,
Hmm.
But even with that, I don't think Obi being in that same position against
Hmm.
that same offensive guy, I don't
Hmm.
think Obi is looked at as he's gonna get a stop. He's gonna just play some good stellar defense and
Hmm.
make the shot difficult. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's the way I'm looking at it. I think, and then offensively, I think Cam is gonna show a
Right.
lot more
Oh, no doubt about it.
potential. So that's why
But
I'm
I do
looking at
think Obi's
it as
gonna come back better, though,
I
right?
agree. I agree.
And one thing I'll say about Cam, we was talking about Cam has a he does have a high ceiling, but he has a low floor too. To me, Grimes doesn't have that high of a ceiling. In my opinion, he could definitely fool me on that. But his floor is high. You
Mhm.
know what you're getting from him, game in, and game out. Um, and shout out to to Senga Waldron. I hope I said that right. So Deuce never plays. Burke's got to sit at some point. I don't even think it's going to be Deuce and versus Burke. If Derrick Rose is back, what's Deuce path forward to play? I don't think that has anything to do with Burke. Burke is just there because we're down Kimba and we're down Rose. But if Rose is back, IQ is playing some point. What's Deuce path forward to being in the rotation?
Mm, that's a great question. That's a great question.
What would need to happen for him to get to be in the rotation?
Well, let me start with this.
Mhm.
Number one is it's on Deuce first.
Right. It's not giving him something. He has
Yes,
to earn it. Right.
it's on him first.
Correct.
He's gonna have to, whether it's 2 minutes in a game, 5 minutes in a game, he's gonna have to show something in the limited time that he gets moving forward. Right. That's one. Um, Obviously, even before that, what Tip says, he has to show it in practice. But once he's there, once he's shown what he's capable of, like this is Deuce at his best. It don't have to be his best every game, but we've seen
Right.
like
Right.
like this is, oh wow, I didn't know he could do that. Wow, he got a 15 and 10 in 30 minutes. Wow, this is his best. He's gonna have to have his best game first, right? And then he has to make it so that Tibbs has no choice. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
gotta
Yeah.
earn it first. Once
Yeah.
you earn it, then I think everything will fall into place in due time. Anyway, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Whether we gotta move on from this guy, move on from that guy, but it's on him to make them make that decision. Have to make that decision. It can't be made prematurely. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I hear you. He has to, he's in a position where he has to make Tibbs make decisions, or whoever the coach is. I believe it'll be Tibbs. Make that decision. When Grimes said in an interview when he came in to the season, he felt like he needed to make an impression. He needed to make Tibbs play him. Um, when Grimes get in, I think he's playing not to make a mistake, which is good. Which is good. Because he hasn't played all season. They put him in the game. I like the fact that he's not playing the point. I think, take your time, get used to being, on the court, hit your spots offensively and defensively. And that's what he's been doing. But he, do something to stand out. And I don't even think it has to be offensively. I don't even think it has to be offensively. Um, Yeah, I think it's just a tough road forward for him if we bring the team back the way it is. And if we bring in another point guard, it's going to be even worse. Yeah.
um, biggest addition you think we need, and obviously I think it's point guard, but if you could pinpoint maybe three guys you think would change the dynamic of this team,
They
and
have to be available or just anybody I want.
um, it, we'll say anybody, but if you can give me a path to getting them.
Yeah,
So
that's
when
going to be tough.
you know what I mean. So we you don't get.
This is tough. This is tough because what I think the Knicks need is players that we know every single game what we're going to get from him. And we don't have a lot of those. We got RJ right now and Derrick Rose, who's injured, where you know game in and game out what you're going to get from those players. The Knicks need more of those, and we just don't have them. Randall's up and down. IQ is up and down. Fournier is more up than down. I don't think he's been as inconsistent as Randall has been throughout the season, in my opinion. But we just don't have players where you know what you're going to get, and that's because a lot of our roster is young. And then those who are not young are just not that great. Burks is just not that great where you know what you're gonna get. He's playing out of position too. Um, Mitch is up and down. You know, that's my wish for the Knicks. Bring in players that you know what you're gonna get game in and game out. Um, I don't know how we get DeJounte Murray. I don't think he's available. Um, we might be able to get Brunson. I think he changes everything for us. I really do. Um, And it may not just be because he's such a dynamic player. It's just what he does for our particular team that will help us. Um, can we get Donovan Mitchell? He's under contract with Utah. You know, he's another young player that's not in his prime that you know what you're going to get game in and game out. Those are the type of players we need. I don't know if there's a path forward for that to get him. And if Mitch is not here, or even if Mitch is here, can we get a big that can shoot? All of our bigs are offensively limited other than Taj. And Taj is about, 486 years old. All of our bigs are limited. So I would like a big that can shoot.
Tajosaurus.
Tajosaurus. Right. Um,
Oh, how you still because I know at a point I was like I don't know if I'm all in for Dame anymore. Um,
nah,
no,
I'm
it's
not.
it's funny because I think I reverted back. Now,
Really.
obviously, it's about the cost because
That changes
I
everything,
feel
our
like
whole direction.
I mean it does. He's not number one on my list. Like I definitely prefer Donovan Mitchell because now we're talking about 10 years of prominence. You,
Correct.
you you know what I mean? Potentially. So or even Murray, you talking 10 years of you know our best years ahead of us moving forward. The window of with getting Dame it definitely shortens.
Hmm.
But watching the league now and watching some of the teams that are like really fighting for the playoffs and believe in their teams and they all got one. They all got one. And at this particular junction, we don't. We have all the surrounding parts,
Hmm.
and we don't have the one. And I kind of feel like it needs to be at that position. It needs to be at that position.
That point guard position. But this is the thing. Now, and I gotta say, I've been against Dame. Even we were talking about it preseason, before the season. And that's when I thought we had one in Randall, right? We don't. We don't have one in Randall. And RJ is developing into that. Is RJ there yet that you want to bring in, trade a lot of our assets and bring in Dame Lillard for 4 years, 5 years, maybe 5 years? He's what, 32?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know. And
Ah,
then the cupboard is bare to make that. So in that 5 years, you got to make hay. You gotta. And I just don't think. I don't know if we have it.
so I've been watching a couple of other podcasts too, like non-Nick related
Hmm.
podcasts,
Hmm.
and some of them, regular fans like us.
Hmm.
Some of them were like the ESPN guys, the Bill Simmons, that's his name, and
Hmm.
a couple of other guys. And one of them I was watching, they were talking about Zion and and what the Pelicans should do, right? And I
Hmm.
think they was like trade them, um, extend them, or wait it out, right? And then
Hmm.
one of the options was like trade him, see what you could get for him. But I'm not. They acknowledge his value is low right now, but they're not gonna, they're not gonna give him away either. And one of the scenarios was like
Hmm.
the Knicks. Oh, go to the Knicks, and I'll take R.J. Barrett and 5 picks. And I'm just like, no, like, as a Knicks fan watching, I'm like, nah, we not doing that. Oh, but it made me think. Do you think there is a trade out there that we could definitively win and get the guy we're all happy with, and it doesn't include RJ?
Yes. Yeah. Do you think? Well, I mean, that's a very good question because I would like, if we got Donovan Mitchell, I would like to Donovan Mitchell and RJ. But I do, there are some people out there that will say, "Are you kidding me? Do you think they're going to give up Donovan Mitchell and not take, one of your budding stars?" But I think if you hold out with RJ, then you are giving up. If you're not giving up RJ in that package, you're going to give up a lot otherwise. You're gonna have to give up a lot.
How much does RJ? Because like when they said RJ and 5 picks, and then
No,
yeah,
no.
they got the picks. What I mean, they got the picks. So yeah, I'm not doing it if it don't include RJ. And I'm like, I wonder how many other teams are thinking that when it comes to whomever we're looking to get. Because me personally, not only do I want RJ Randall and whomever we're getting. I think we need that. And then when we talk about who we're giving up, I don't think it matters as much.
But
You know what I mean?
Tony, I'm with you, but don't piss off the fan base because if you not trading, if you're gonna keep Randall and RJ, and it depends on who and you're trying to bring in an A-lister. I hope you don't have any attachments to any of these young guys.
Oh, yeah, I mean, me personally, I think
I hope you don't
we
have
got to.
any attachment to them because you can't keep RJ, keep Randall, and then try to keep, oh, I don't want to give up Grimes. I don't want to keep. No, it's just not
Listen.
going to happen.
If I'm keeping those two, I have no stipulations.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Correct.
Those are my stipulations, and then whatever
Everything else is on the
is
table.
on the table. Like now, I'm not saying take everything else. You know what I mean? But everything else is on the table.
It has to be.
It has to be.
You can't get an A-lister and give junk.
And that's where it got tricky to me because I'm like they was serious. Like two different people. It was 4 guys on that show, but 2 of them was like, yeah, I need RJ and 5 picks. So I'm just like, dang, like, and we talking about somebody whose status is at its lowest. It's been in his 3 years. You know what I mean? Like we talking about now. Granted, the upside is probably the highest of a lot of guys out there. We talk about potential. I know you frowned upon it when I said before potential MVP, but I mean this is Zion. But this is what they were saying in that podcast, and these are like the ESPN guys. So
so we're talking about for Zion. When we were saying keeping RJ and Randall, you were just saying for any A-lister.
I was saying any A-lister.
Okay.
But what made me think about this was that podcast specifically talking about Zion because the Zion excluded. We're gonna be talking about guys who don't have that injury history, who don't have the question marks of a Zion. They're saying with his question marks, with his value being its lowest point at this moment, they're still talking about 5 picks at RJ. So what if we're talking about somebody who has played the last 3 years, who hasn't been injured? You know what I mean? What are they gonna Donovan Mitchell? What are they gonna be asking for?
Right. Oh yeah, no doubt.
So
no doubt.
So that's the way I'm looking at it.
But wasn't it tongue in cheek when they said 5 picks? And were they kind of playing a little bit? Were they really serious about 5 picks?
They were saying the Knicks probably won't do it. They probably say no. And if that's the case, then we'll just wait. We'll wait it out and they're speaking as hypothetical GMs. But yes, they were dead serious that 5 picks and RJ and
for Zion.
Who's the other? Who's the not Woj? Who's the guy right under Woj? That's
Shams.
No. Is it Adrian? No, that's Woj. The chubby dude. I'm sorry, I didn't want to say that, but
I don't know if I know.
Oh, you know who I'm talking about.
Oh, Winehurst?
Him. He's the one that was like, if I'm the Knicks, I'm trying to keep RJ. I'm trying to do whatever I gotta do to keep RJ. So he's not opposed to the 5 picks, obviously.
5 picks for Zion? Come on. I mean.
But I'm not only speaking of Zion, I'm speaking more about like anybody.
Right.
Go ahead and
picks
speak
is a
to
lot.
them real quick. I gotta get this call. I'm sorry.
Yeah. 5 picks is a lot for anybody. You gotta be maybe we're not even talking about first round picks, maybe like 2 first round picks, 3 seconds, or 3 first, 2 seconds. But for Zion, that's a bit too much. For me, even if RJ is not in the trade, that's a bit too much for me. I'm trying to keep RJ and build with him. I think we're past building around. Just build with him. He still needs to grow. Who can we get to play with him? And I think the question for you, Tony, is there any player right now in the NBA that you would trade RJ for? Like, I feel like if you traded RJ for Donovan Mitchell, aren't we in the same spot? Still needing more pieces, no?
Yeah. Oh man. I don't. I don't. I think we're in a better spot. I don't know. I think if we're just looking at it piece for piece, I think we're in a better spot. I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say we're not.
Mhm. Well, I think Donovan Mitchell right now is better than RJ, no doubt
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
But I mean, in
But I
terms of
also
team construction, we're gonna still need more. So we're in the same spot in that respect of still having to need more.
it depends on what your end goal is. Like if you're saying are we? I think Donovan Mitchell here in place of RJ, and I hate even having this conversation, but I think we become at least a perennial playoff team. I don't think we're talking about um I don't think we're talking about play in or if we are, it's like it's seventh seed. You know what I mean? Like all right, we're playing, but you know what I mean? Like we're a better team. That's what I'm saying. And I
I
think
don't know.
I only say that because he's proven
Mhm,
one and we're not with. Granted, I believe Mitchell's going to get better, but we're not waiting for that consistency. We're not waiting for that next. You know what I mean? It's already there. Like RJ next year may be a different it may be a different comparison for me. And again, I wouldn't want to do that the straight up swap because again, I want a piece. I think you muted. The, nope, nope.
what about now?
There you go.
I agree with you. I think he's better. But I don't know if we're that much better because the team, one person is not going to be able to just elevate this team. So yeah, he's better than RJ, but the rest of the team is in such shambles. Do you think he would elevate the rest of the team?
I do.
Wow. Okay.
I do.
Yeah,
I do. But
okay.
I hate
Okay.
that I had to say it because I love RJ and we all want that homegrown drafted talent to what I mean? Like we
Mhm.
want that. And we need it. We need it. I think it builds the organization up to say this is our
Mhm.
guy, this is the guy we picked and groomed and nurtured and look who he's become.
Right.
So we need one of those guys. You know what I mean? And at this point, he's the closest that we've gotten to that over the
Right.
past however many years. And this is without him being extended yet. You know what I mean? Like, and I mean, prior to that, I guess you could have said maybe that was the dream and hope for KP, and I think that's why that kind of stung
Mhm.
so much
Mhm.
because it was like, oh, we actually got one. You know what I mean? Like, and nobody kind of knew who he was, and we got one. So
Right.
it looked good. You know what I mean? It's like a potentially
Let
a Giannis type of sign of
let me
draft.
ask you this real quick, and then I gotta go because I got the Queen's Court.
Oh yeah,
So
I'll be right over.
somebody said that they would package Reddish and IQ as a starting point. So would you trade keep RJ, trade Cam, which would be my if we had to, that would be my first choice. But if they were so stuck on having RJ, do and for Donovan Mitchell, would you feel comfortable that Cam could be what RJ is for us right now?
Not immediately, but
Me either.
long term, maybe. Like
Maybe.
long term, there's a shot,
Mhm.
but it's gonna take again the growing pains, the development, the like. It's not gonna be all right. He could just fill in and do what RJ's doing as of late. You know what I mean? I don't believe that. But I also haven't seen enough of him.
Yeah.
If I'm basing it off of what I've seen from him on the floor, and this is probably not in New York. This is more of
Mhm.
in Atlanta, more of like the one playoff game. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
then I think he has the ability, the
Mhm.
capability, but I don't think it's something that we should rely on immediately. I think again, it's a fine line with us Knicks fan of
Mhm.
being patient and and what like some people want a finished product off the jump,
Right.
and some people understand that the finished product takes a long commitment, a long progression to reach.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't think he'd be able to fill in. We'll
Okay.
see. I see you on the Queen's Court. We'll continue some of these conversations. I know you
Okay.
got your
Yeah.
itinerary, but I see you
Right.
there.
Okay.
Appreciate you joining me. Shout out to
All
the
right.
chat.
All right.
Your blackest time, and we're gonna get out of here. Go over to NBK. Go check out Queen's Court, and appreciate you guys in the chat for joining. Hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see y'all Wednesday. I got another special guest on Wednesday. Peace.